The revolution's begun. The time to stand up has come. We are the rocking of the throne. We are the rocking of the throne.
So we are privileged to have Adam Davis with us today to talk to about his campaign and why he signed CFAR, Contract for American Renewal. Adam, really appreciate you being here today with us. For people who do not know you yet, introduce yourself.
So I grew up in Ogden. For those that don't know, it's about 35 miles north of Salt Lake, kind of near Hill Air Force Base, for anybody that's familiar with that. That's kind of a big deal in the local economy here. So I was raised by my mother, who taught public school for 18 years, a little bit in elementary, and then moved into middle school. And I mean, basically from there, I guess, I don't know, I consider my life to be fairly normal, I guess. Nothing too terribly extraordinary. But so I've always kind of been sort of plugged into politics. I've always tried, been an active voter and try to be informed as to what's going on. I kind of been in and out of being active outside of that. A little bit. And then after the 2016 elections, I kind of dived in head first with a group that was reinstituting the Green Party here in Utah, and wound up running for Congress.
I think Bernie inspired a lot of people to run for office. In fact, he said it. He said, if you want to change things, run for office. And I want to ask you, why did you sign the Contract for American Renewal, or CFAR?
Well, first, because it aligns very well with where I stand. The biggest thing for me is we always hear a lot in politics about fiscal responsibility, about the fiscal cost of whatever it is that people want to accomplish in office. We hear, well, this costs so many $1 billion. This costs so many, but I think we've gotten away from remembering that there's a human cost to everything that we do as well, and I think we've gotten so caught up in well, how much does it cost? How much money does it cost? And we have to remember that these things impact people's lives every day. When you talk about our infrastructure issues, people rely on these roads to get to and from work. They rely on them. If they're if something happens and they need to get to the hospital, that those roads are how they get there. The internet is increasingly critical to just being able to be a full part of our society today. And I think that's an overlooked piece of infrastructure. When you talk about the way that wages have been stagnating for decades now, while costs have continued to go up.
Yes, yeah. I mean, that's very insightful, and it's something that I think the American voters they get. So I want to ask you. There are some high-priced policies on the CFAR, the Contract for American Renewal. Are you a tax and spend liberal?
I've been introduced to an interesting concept in the last couple of years that, frankly, probably should be more common sense than it is.
Yeah.
It's known throughout a lot of circles as modern monetary theory. I don't know if that's something that you guys in particular deal a lot with.
Yes, we yeah, definitely we're informed on that. Yeah, I get you.
Yeah, I mean basically, Congress has the power to print money. Um, so I mean, I think there can be a role for taxation in terms of how we sort of shape the economy. When you talk about incentivizing or decentivizing maybe certain economic behaviors, whatever. But I mean, we've got to get away from this idea that those two have to be perfectly correlated. We have to understand that a national budget doesn't function the same way that a household budget does.
Right.
The mechanisms just are not the same.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
So I think we really need to start learning that and start to look at, okay, well, what are the real options? What's the real impact? What's actually going on when we're doing this.
Okay, so speaking of the policy positions in the CFAR, which of those do you expect to speak to the most?
So for me, there's a couple that kind of stand out to me in terms of at least maybe the stuff I would go after first, maybe. The first thing probably that I would go after on the list is Social Security. Mm-hmm. There's absolutely no reason for us to be having the problems we are with Social Security. And I know the thing says lift the cap above 250,000. If it were up to me, I'd remove it entirely.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
There's no reason, for that to be, to have people making millions and millions of dollars a year and not paying their share into that program.
Mm-hmm. Okay. All right. So, next question. How will you deploy the CFAR, or the Contract for American Renewal, during debates, on your website, press releases? How will you do that?
Well, I think the first thing is, a lot of these issues are issues that I talk about anyway. When you talk about ending, our endless war machine.
Yeah.
When we talk about, trying to get wages up. When we talk about, things like, the infrastructure investment and addressing climate change. Those I address within kind of the context of a job guarantee program, where state, local, tribal governments can address those things through federal funding and through employing citizens who are otherwise unemployed. So I think that's the base. Is just these are issues that I'm going to continue to talk about. These are issues that are important to me, and it's another way for people to see that I am committed to these issues. That this is, that I'm here to do what's best for people. And
yeah, and I think I think you're right on there, because those issues, the majority of Americans, that's what they're interested in. That's what they want. Like Medicare for all, 70% of Americans across the board want it, and that's just one example. So your platform is, I mean, the majority of Americans want the same things, and I think the reason that your platform reflects what the people want is because you're one of the people, and
yeah, if Did Not Vote had been a presidential candidate, it would have won by a landslide.
Yes, right. Yeah. Okay.
I think you hit on something that is really important to me, and kind of one of the reasons that I kind of stepped in to run is, I think Well, first of all, I really want to see more engagement out of my generation. So I'm kind of one of the oldest of the millennials, and I think it's really kind of time for my generation to kind of start stepping up and start, taking a place in society and start, making ourselves known. And also, like you said, I think it's just time that we start looking at, what can we do to elect people that are just people.
Right.
Stop, stop electing people that are, going there to, for, reasons of power and influence. And, you talk about the, to get rich and,
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
Yeah.
stop electing these people that are just, participating. And I think you have to look at, pretty critically anybody inside of the two-party system, and you have to start wondering about motives because of
Mm-hmm.
the way that system has worked, because of what it takes to have any success within that system.
Yeah.
I think it's time to start looking elsewhere.
Yeah, I mean, well said. I mean, people always complain, oh, well, if you're if you want to win, you have to it takes super PAC money to go up against the opposition. Well, I think Bernie proved that wrong. So, yeah. So, last final question. So, what makes you a better candidate than your opponents?
Well, I think just a lot of the stuff that we talked about, I mean, I think, I mean, um, my sort of vision kind of for the future is that I want to see, solidarity among the working class. I want to start getting away from, kind of the divisive, all the us versus them, when we talk about, people talk about, well, immigrants are, stealing jobs, which of course is a complete load of crap. Somebody has to hire them. They don't
Yeah.
just they don't just thieve a job.
That's right.
And so, in cases like that, I like to tell people, well, why aren't you mad at the guy that hired somebody that's, that hired an undocumented immigrant, so because they know that person's more exploitable. You should be mad at the guy that's hiring them, the guy that's exploiting both you and the immigrant.
Yeah.
Rather than, being mad at each other. And that's kind of what I'm trying to build. Is I'm trying to build an atmosphere where those of us that are out here, actually working for a living, actually making the economy run, can get together and say, hey, you know what? We're all getting screwed here, and it's time for us to band together. It's time for us to work together. It's time for us to, to put aside all this crap that we're arguing over, and let's go scare some plutocrats.
Yeah, let's do it, right? Well, Adam, I really want to thank you for being here today with us and talking with us. Uh, keep fighting the good fight. I think that, the voters are behind you, and I think the voters are behind candidates like you, who are running for the right reason. They're not there for the money. They're not there for any other, for ego or anything else. They're there because they see a problem. They want to be a part of the solution to make change and to make things better. And I really appreciate it, your commitment to doing this. So thank you for being with us here today.
Well, thanks for having me.
Okay. All right. Well, you take care. Good luck to you. We're going to be checking in with you, as this goes along. And again, thanks. So we'll see you later. Thanks, Adam.
Take care.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Revolt Against Plutocracy won't just be covering the news about the necessary revolution in the United States. Sometimes we'll be making the news. If you want to stay on top of the revolutionary actions and strategies of grassroots, genuine progressives, and our allies, Please subscribe to our YouTube channel today.